I'm Karyn Traphagen, and I collect an archive of LEGO Modulex bricks. And here we're going to take a look at some of the things that I have on display here. And some of these are mocks that I've made with the LEGO Modulex bricks, and then we also have some archive of the actual boxes and all the different things. So these are just some things. These are some of the original boxes, the M20 system that they originally came out with in 1963, and this was for architects to use to design buildings.
And so you were able to source these. Where were you able to source these from? It's always interesting to me.
A lot of the bricks that I have gotten have actually come from Europe.
Okay.
I have some people in Europe who keep an eye out for me and stay in touch with me. Other times I've been able to find some things occasionally on eBay, but not all the time. I try to buy larger amounts because I'm trying to put together an archive, so I want full boxes. I don't want bits and pieces. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so what are we looking at here? It looks like a space shuttle launch setup?
Yeah, so this is my little attempt at the space shuttle. I have a lot of friends at NASA, and so this was for them.
Ode to them?
Ode to them, yes.
And so describe some of the challenges building with the Modulex system. Obviously it has like far fewer parts than the LEGO system.
So we have a few challenges, but also some really cool things. And actually seeing these two mocks here demonstrate those differences. We do not have plates and tiles that have partial heights. So it's much more blocky or pixelated, sort of, if you want to take it that way. The nice thing, though, about what we would call Modulex plates, or tiles more specifically, is that they're the same height as a brick. So they're basically a studless brick, and that makes for some really interesting uses. And I took advantage of that with bracing underneath here in the roof. So some of these are tiles that fit and slide underneath gaps, and then I can brace things in a way that I couldn't do with regular
system brick. Yeah.
System brick.
So it's like a completely different kind of way of building almost.
It is, and there's some really clever, creative people, especially in Europe, that have done some really clever things. The end pieces on here some of these are profile bricks. I can show you when we go over to the thing, but those have really unique slots in them. Some of them are vertical, and they just have one stud on top, and then they're open on the whole side, which allows a lot of interesting snot type building.
Cool. Now, obviously, Modulex is made by LEGO, but how does Modulex kind of fit in with the LEGO system? And I believe you have an interesting little graphic here to illustrate that.
Right. Well, it was never meant to fit with system brick like Duplo, but those people who are creative have found different elements through trial and error where we can marry the two. And this is a photo that just demonstrates some of the different elements that can be combined to give some ways of marrying them together.
Totally. Very nice. And then you have a little bit of a scale comparison here in the back? Right.
So a lot of I'm trying to show how in a 6x6 in the system, it's taller than it is wide, but a 6x6 in Modulex is really a 6x6 cube. So you not only can see that it's smaller, but it's also got the different proportion.
Very cool. 1-to-1.
Exactly, and the whole idea was to be able to have a consistent building standard.
Totally. And then lots of penguins having fun here? Right.
This is just my little Happy Feet penguins and glaciers, just trying to do some fun stuff with the Modulex. My next goal is to take the buildings that are in the various brochures and recreate those. So there's a Billund Airport, there's some other industrial buildings, and I think I'm going to show that. One of the other things that I really liked doing was this mosaic. I took a page from Tolkien's book. This is the Doors of Durin, and of course in the book you can only see it in the moonlight. So I took advantage of the fact that Modulex has clear base plates, and I put black tiles, and there's actually, you probably can't see it in the video, but there's glossy and matte tiles. The glossy ones are an earlier tile for the building architects series, and the matte ones are for later, from when they had more of the tiles for the plan system. But these are all clear bricks, and then I've just backlit it. But it's because we have the transparent base plate that I was able to do this pretty easily.
Interesting. And so the intention when they created the transparent base plate, what was their like sort of overall?
So if you think about the fact that these are architects that are trying to recreate a location, they could place that on a map. They could place that on some other kind of scale, like for a building if they're doing a layout for a floor plan. And that was a way to take advantage of some sort of mapping.
So like add more context to
exactly.
it or something. Very nice.
Right.
And then moving along here, you have another poster board with lots of interesting information.
Yeah, so these are actually 2 pages from one of the original manuals in 1963.
Okay.
And what I'm going to be doing is scanning all of the different manuals and advertising things that I have, and we'll be putting those online so that people can have access to them.
See what's going on.
Exactly. I feel like one of the things I'm trying to do is make this archive accessible to people. It's a part of LEGO history that not a lot of people get to see, and hopefully as I get it more organized and have time, I'll be putting it online and making it available.
Cool. Very cool. I like the hole punches. It's authentic.
Yeah.
Very nice. And moving on down, we have a lovely building tray, it looks like.
Right, so there's a couple of these. These are actual Modulex trays, and if you look, this is in the case, we have all the different types of trays and drawers and every way that you could have had these and purchased them. These are all original. So at different periods of time, they started out with cardboard boxes, these square ones, and they stacked. Then they had the gray and orange drawers that the boxes slid in. We have the black wood and the natural wood that have 4 drawers, and they sold these as sets. I mean, you could buy them individually, you can buy trays individually. I have all of the price lists, so from different countries, but there were 4 sets that you could buy that have 4 drawers in them, and they were, they came with a certain criteria. In fact, one of the things they came with was glue.
So actual Craggle, if we're referencing the LEGO movie.
Exactly.
Nice,
so because they were meant to be used for buildings and customized, they encouraged cutting and gluing. No nos these days.
Wow.
These little metal things are actually separators to help pull bricks off. Yeah. These, I would like to say, are probably the earliest predecessors to minifigs. They sold these little people, men and women, glued parts together. So they're slopes, they're roof slopes and various bricks.
That's kind of wild.
And they made tables and desks and chairs and people, and they did sell them already pre-assembled. And so I would like to say that they are probably the predecessor.
The first like Lego something figure.
Yes.
Something. Yeah.
I did ask Kevin Hinkle once, and he said,
And so as far as the colors go, I think so these were intended to be architectural modeling
No,
materials.
these were not. Okay,
these are something else.
All of these colors, these bright, beautiful colors that you see, are from the later ones. And the reason why they chose some of these colors is because these were meant to be on the boards that were on the wall, and then they would take them off the wall and photocopy.
I see.
So they were for tracking projects or schedules or all that kind of thing.
Before the days of Microsoft Excel.
Exactly. So what they tested different colors to see which ones would photocopy in black and white and still maintain the contrast.
Different shades of gray. That is really
interesting. And this is also interesting is that some of these colors, some of these bricks, the later bricks, they used a different plastic. They used PPO for some of these, and the earlier ones, like regular system brick, are ABS.
ABS, okay. Interesting. And up here you have a lovely slideshow going?
That's just part of a seminar presentation that I normally do, and I just looped it through so that people could kind of see. These are other pages from some of the manuals and just some of the different things. This is a
I love this sort of caption right there, like the
right. So
architectural model.
this is one of the models, and that's kind of what they were doing after the '67 break, which is the time period where you were doing like three-dimensional buildings. This was more the floor plan, industrial floor plan type thing, and you can see how these were the different assortments and what you would get in each of those assortments. And we have like a price list on the back, you know, of all the different elements and the different
And
kinds
maybe
of
I'm
things.
getting ahead of myself
Yeah.
here, but it looks like almost like LEGO molding machines to me, right? Or a little bit, right?
It could be,
Very
it could
well,
be,
right?
but I think they, you know,
knows?
who knows? So
Very nice.
So this is how they sold some of the base plates. They came in packets of 5, and these were mostly the clear base plates that were packaged like this. And I don't think I have any in this one.
You
I
open
took
it
some of
up.
them out, but they show that they intended they have these little razors, these little cutting tools that cut the Lego, and then how to put them together. There is a separate glue that you used for the base plates. It was called the B glue. Like this is the A glue for putting the bricks together, and the B glue was for putting the base plates
That is
onto
kind
things.
of wild.
And then they had printed tiles that have names of months and
In Danish, I saw
different
this,
languages.
Languages.
And that you were pointing out these tiles down here that have lots of different designs on them. And those were so that they had flexibility with a plan copy system of designating different projects, time things, all that kind of stuff.
That is wild. And then moving on down here, we wrap around another lovely
We have
tray. of
another
elements.
tray.
And here looks like interesting architectural models.
Yeah, so these are actually more. So this is what they dreamed of having from the beginning was these three-dimensional buildings that would replicate a project that would be built. This is just demonstrating more of what we were saying before with industrial floor plan, where you're able to move pieces of equipment around or use some of the string to show wiring or plumbing, those kinds of things. They actually have an element that is a line direction changer. So the string comes to it, and then you can redirect from that.
Wow. And I like this receipt. You spelled out receipt here. That's interesting. What were the large letter pieces intended for?
So what they did was, as time went by, we should look at this first. This was one of the plan copy systems. And so you can see they would have them on the wall, hospitals, schools, hotels, all different places. And you'd keep track like names here and projects. And this was one of the boards that would slide out and be able to be photocopied. So they started printing individual tiles so that you could spell out things, and that ended up being the route that they went. So they started then making bigger signs and more nameplates. You could do this on doors. You could do this, so that this is the way that the company started to go. So they left the bricks behind and moved more to the tiles and had this modular signage thing. And then now the Modulex company, still in Billund, is an international signage company, and they still make signs for museums, galleries, hospitals, all the kinds of things.
Completely no construction
But
element.
none of the bricks, none of that anymore. So it's a really interesting story of how a company has recreated itself over time, taking its product
Sort of
slowly
iterating.
over, taking the part of the product that was perhaps working better and modifying and moving forward into a different marketing plan to be able to reinvent themselves.
It's still based in Billund to this day.
It is.
That's very interesting. And you have a really nice sort of layout here of all different kinds of elements.
So this is what I call my sample board, and we have all of the different bricks, both the early ones that had the Lego on the stud, and then the later ones that had M on the stud. It was in the late 60s that they switched over, because obviously if it was a professional tool, they kind of wanted to distance it from the toy with Lego, which is why they use the M for Modulex. These are the slopes that were used for the roofs. These are roof ridges. These are really interesting. They go from 45 to 120, and they receive studs from both sides. So you could put pieces in from studs from both sides and
interesting.
make
This ridge line kind of interesting.
Roof ridges.
And some very nice doors, I see.
Right, doors and all these windows. And then the really cool thing about some of the elements that they had early on and that they really did not continue to create was you were not limited by these windows. They made parts that you could cut, and you could make the sides any height, and you could make the sill and the top any length, cut them to size, and then they had clear plastic that you could slide into those pieces, glue it together, and make your window whatever size you wanted. And they had that for black and gray and white, and those pieces can be, I don't think I have any on the board right now, but yeah, those pieces can be used to make doors of any size.
It's like a different ethos or something like that.
And actually that's the way that we can, that piece actually is not the same height as the bricks. They're not the same height. These are not actually meant for building so much as these were to go on the tops of windows. And this piece down here goes on the bottom of the window and
receive the pain. Yeah. Interesting.
Right.
And
then we have these profile bricks. These are really cool. They have siding on one side, and they have well, this one has a different type of siding on, but they can go. This is like a shutter on one side, and then the siding. But this is what I was saying before, like one side is completely open. Here's the bottom, and then you've got a stud on top. So it allows you to have
things can kind of
different angles.
Open-ended like that.
So all of these they're profile bricks, and they are what allow us now as mock builders to have the variety of snot building.
But Modulex had it first.
Well, sort of, yes, that's true.
It's very cool.
This is the line changer. So it would go and then you could change direction.
Very nice.
And there's the nice thing about the string is there's black, white, and red string, and it's in very long lengths. So we're not limited by the little bits that come into the sets. And then there was also a track.
For like warehouse conveyor belt or like a crane kind of?
I guess if you were, well, I think if you put a name on it or if you put a project and you were moving it across to like different, I'd put this little monorail thing on here, but I mean like
that is too
that's
funny.
Not really.
Fits in the groove.
But I mean they didn't use it that way.
That's pretty cool.
But I think it's kind of a cool.
You have some very nice cardboard cutouts here?
Yeah, so they had these are called foil sheets. They're not really foil in the way we would think of shiny. They're vinyl, and they have many colors: blue, white, gray, orange, green. And they were meant to add some elements to the base plates, like roads or parks or water. You cut them; they're adhesive on the back. You pull them off the back, and then you put them on your base plate. And they just fit over the studs.
And this was to kind of tamper them down?
And this is a comb that fits exactly between and to push them down and to make it, stick on there.
That's kind of amazing.
So there's a couple of those, and they have many colors. I have a lot of colors. There's two different color combs that they had, a blue and a gray. And I used them in this little mock here. So I put different colored studs underneath, but then I used brown foil on it to make it look like soil and have the plants come through.
This is a tornado mock, I'm assuming?
It is a little farm tornado mock, and this is using one of the other really unique elements. I get that twist because this particular piece has a turntable.
A little dish on the, oh wow.
So you can, rotate it. I mean, it's not loose. It's not, it doesn't have bearings
like
or anything.
Kinda...
But you can put it on to any and then pivot.
Very cool.
And then they also had a 10 by 10, This is actually a brick,
Yeah.
but it's 10 by 10, and that's kind of nice too.
And then historically, like this kind of just seeing an element of this size makes me question, like, what would the pricing of this look like? Would it have been competitive to other model making kind of systems?
I think it was pretty expensive, actually.
Okay.
When I look at the list and when I think about the time frame, and when you look at how much of it you would need to do any substantial building, it was quite expensive. So I think that might have been one of the reasons why it did not take off as much. And then, architects tend to, at that period, we're probably doing things with, cardboard and different types of model material. So I think it was smart of them to find a different use for the bricks and to go.
And then to finish this out here, you have a wonderful Statue of Liberty build.
Well, this is it's apocalyptic. It's kind of broken, and rather than try to rebuild it, I did not actually build this. A friend of mine in Europe built it and sent it to me, and I bring it along to show.
Is that a hollow build, or
no? It's solid.
Solid Modulex.
Yeah, that's a lot of Modulex. That's really heavy.
That is amazing. Amazing.
Yep.
Well, Karyn, thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for
Wonderful to get a lot of insight.
Yeah.
Of course.
Come anytime.
Thank you.